Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Dexter New Blood. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up in the aftermath of last episode. While Dexter's knocked out in the back of Elric's truck, he's thinking about, the kids coming to attack Harrison at the house, and Harrison proceeds to severely murder them, slicing one's throat, going full-blown Negan and bashing the other's head in with a bat, and then he's covered in blood, and he looks at Dexter who walked in, and he's smiling. Dexter's just kind of like, no, this isn't what he wanted. He was hoping that his son wouldn't have his dark passage or wouldn't have his own darkness. But it turns out, obviously, Elric works for Kurt. This is all his thing. While he's going to go pick up Harrison, he doesn't want Dexter dead. It turns out the whole thing was, he wanted Dexter. What was probably going to happen is one father killing the other son. He probably wanted Dexter to watch as he killed Harrison. Now, would he have killed Dexter afterwards? Maybe, but he would have done it after he'd killed Harrison in front of him. It seems like that was the ultimate plan. Granted, the problem was Elric, as well as Kurt, didn't fully know who he was messing with. Yeah, you know he killed your son, but it's like, you're not dealing with an amateur. He's probably got more bodies than you do, because Dexter's been at this a long time, but also, we know Kurt's been at it a long time too, so who knows what the body count is. But I love that Dexter, jacked Elric up by, using the zip ties to kind of, mess his face up like that, very Joker style. So, once again, even Dexter being like, I don't like being the one that's bleeding because he's got a gunshot wound. It's like, it's always interesting when the predator gets turned into prey. Because usually he's never been, I'm trying to think, was there ever a moment like this? There's always a cat and mouse game with some of him and the serial killers in the original series, but never to this extent. I mean, granted, he's at a disadvantage because he has no weapons. Because his element is, he's usually got the element of surprise. Plus, let's not also forget, this is Dexter who's been on a 10-year hiatus. Yeah, he's kind of got his ebb and flow back, but he's not back 100%. He ain't in his prime anymore. So he's kind of lost a step or two. So, for one, Dexter always has the advantage, and that always, works in his favor. Because toe-to-toe, he can somewhat handle himself, but he's also, once again, in an unfavorable position. The guy's got a rifle, so. And Dexter's trying to lure him away by backpedaling on his own steps and leading him towards the river. The guy's like, this is number one in the book. You think I'm stupid? Once again, I brought this up last episode, and I don't know if it's true. Elric was hired by Kurt to do this, but who's to say this is the only wet work he's done? Because I'm wondering, once again, does he dispose of the bodies for Kurt? Or is this the first? The fact he's a little too comfortable, it's like, right, I was supposed to bring you to Kurt, but I'm going to kill you now. He's too comfortable doing some shady business. So I'm like, this can't be the first time he's done it. So that's why I'm like, the transports, the stuff, the drums or barrels or whatever it is, that Harrison was helping him, load off the truck. I brought it up last episode. I'm kind of leaning more into it now. I think those were probably the bodies of the women, he killed and drained of blood. I'm assuming he's embalming them. Because once again, I don't think it's in the hole of that cave. I think Iris's body's the only one there. Once again, I could be wrong. I just feel like they haven't circled back to that hole since Dexter threw a rock in there, and I was like, he didn't hear anything. It just heard it hit the ground, so that's why I'm like, considering all the victims he had, you would think that would end up, that be where they are, but they're probably being kept elsewhere, but. So Dexter ends up going to a summer camp, which I love the line of a summer camp, where a serial killer can defend himself. I'm like, they wrote that line specifically because it's of a Jason situation of Camp Crystal Lake, and here I am. This is where a serial killer doesn't get to defend himself, gets to, have a little, I think the same thing's applicable in this case of having home turf advantage, especially because it's you can go all day, but me, the nighttime's my friend. So he was waiting for, Elric. And I love that. And I love the guy's like, oh, motherfucker brought a knife to a gunfight. Yeah, but once again, you don't know who you're messing with. And I love the whole mirror thing. I was like, where's Dexter? Because I kept thinking while he was staring at the mirror that Dexter was going to come behind him and stab him in the back of the head. And we see the knife poking through his mouth. That's what I was thinking. But he kept looking in the mirror. Didn't expect Dexter to break through the mirror on the other side. He's like, who are you? It's like, oh, you're asking that question a little too late. He's like, okay, he's like, this wasn't personal. And Dexter's like, it involves my son. It makes it pretty personal. So killed him and bounced. At the same time, Harrison's still dealing with the ramifications, well, just like blowing up at his dad and having to get away, and he sees Audrey. Really quick acting thing, I didn't know this. I was just looking at, I'm going to butcher her last name, but her name's Johnny, the actress who plays Audrey. I just happened to be looking her up on IMDb. Once again, I love that feature so damn much, the X-ray feature. But on IMDb, and I looked her up, and I saw that she was in a show in 2014 called Believe. I was like, wait, is that the show I'm thinking of? And there's a photo amongst her IMDb photos of it, and I was like, yeah, with her and Delroy Lindo and Kyle. I'm always going to butcher his last. I always want to say McLaughlin, but I don't know if that's actually it. Agent Cooper from Twin Peaks. And lo and behold, who else was in that show? Jamie Chung. I really dug the show. Sadly, it was canceled after one season. But I was like, holy crap, you and Jamie Chung in the same show together again. I'm like, have they worked together since then? That's so interesting because I didn't realize she was the little girl. I haven't seen the show since it originally aired. Once again, like back in 2014. So like I didn't put two and two together. I was like, hey, and you and Jamie Chung are in the same show again. Like, I don't know if this is the first time you guys have worked together since then, but I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I was like, wow, small world. That's interesting how that plays out like that. So I just thought that was incredible. I thought that was just so interesting. So, but Harrison wants to go and be, you know, he sees Audrey and wants to go over there to her, but it's like, right, I'm kind of the weirdo I am. And once again, he never gave her a chance to explain because he immediately thought like, oh, the moment she saw this darker side of me and it freaked her out, she's going to think I'm a weirdo. So he's trying to stay away from her. So before he sees her hanging out with one of his other buds and it's like, right, let me just leave her alone. Sadly, Kurt calls at the time and is like, oh, your dad must be tied up. Let me go pick you up. So, and this is something I brought up last episode. I wasn't sure what Kurt's initial, like, you know, obviously in the episode we now know he was trying to kill Harrison. I think it's interesting. Well, I was about to say, like, to be fair, he butters up everyone else. Also, Harrison doesn't fit his typical victims because he usually goes after young ladies that have no one. Harrison's a little different, but once again, this situation calls for it to be a little different because it's personal, but he still set it up because he's got his get up. He wants Harrison to run so he can shoot him in the back. So it's like, he's still got his methodology. I mean, hell, even in this moment, Dexter still does his thing of like, cool, I'm going to stab you in the heart and then I'm going to throw a tarp on top of you afterward. You know, so both of them still fall into their methodology. To be fair, Dexter's situation is like, well, it's a surefire way to kill someone. But I think there's some instinct level of like, right, this is how you typically kill people. So it makes sense that, even when you're trying to defend yourself, even though you're not in your comfort zone or just, oh, like you have the situation under control and you're killing them the way you normally want to, you're still doing it regardless, going from the heart, like making the stab count. So the fact that Kurt's still doing things this way, I think is interesting. He probably still would have done what he does with the women with Harrison, or maybe not because Harrison isn't a woman and doesn't fully fit his victimhood. I'm curious like how much this would have driven him crazy just doing this because this is personal, you know, just like it is personal for Dexter, it's personal for Kurt. But like I said, he's buttering Harrison up the entire time. My thought initially, and like I said, I brought this up last episode, was I was wondering whether or not he was going to try and replace, because Matt was the screw up, but Harrison is like, oh, you could be the one. I just didn't know whether he was going to do that or try to actually kill him. But he did a lot. He took him to the school, showed off like, oh, look at all the stuff that Matt did. And they played baseball together. It's like, once again, it's like, I'm the father. Your father wasn't there to be there for you. So it's like, right, let's play some baseball. I'm teaching you how to swing and stuff. The stuff that Dexter missed out on as a father. He throws curveballs at Harrison, but Harrison doesn't hit them. He just keeps taking them because he wants to feel pain because he believes he deserves it after everything. Because it's like, right, I'm this weirdo, I'm this freak. My dad looks at me like I'm a freak. Like there's no, you know, like my dad will never love me. Because he started internalizing it yet again because like he did with Audrey, he didn't give his dad time to explain. He immediately ran away because he's like, right, like he has abandonment issues and he immediately thinks Audrey's going to fully reject him because she already started going out. I was like, hey, yeah, but then what you did to that guy's arm or the right? It's like, oh, like the look in his dad eyes. Oh, he thinks I'm a freak, a weirdo, so he gets scared and he runs away before he can be fully rejected. Because the sad thing is he came here looking for a lot, and he even admits on some level maybe I was just looking for my dad again, not just answers. And now that I've, you know, he just feels like what was the point of it all if I, you know, he didn't get the end result he was kind of hoping for, because it's like, right, not if I didn't get answers, that's fine, because now I was finally getting my father back, and yeah, I'm angry at him, but it was filling that void a little bit with love and just our connections, but that went sideways now that his dad looks at him like a psycho. And so he was taking all that punishment because, like, yeah, this is what I deserve. And Kurt ends up taking, it's like, oh, let's go to my place. And so venison, you're like, oh boy. And so yeah, this is my special cabin and stuff like that. And Dexter's texting, Harrison, like, yo, don't trust him. But Harrison, partway through, like, puts the phone on, like, airplane mode. I'm like, your dad's texting you out of nowhere. The fact is, he knows you were Kurt, and he's saying don't trust him. But it's just like, right, he's getting so seduced by the fact that Kurt's listening to him, Kurt's being open to him and talking to him, that it's like, right, everything his dad isn't doing, so. And Kurt talks about, like, oh, how I got arrested, why I got arrested. My dad killed someone 25 years ago, blah, 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 which we know it was you who did it. But he's trying to disarm Harrison a little bit, trying to be as honest with him as possible. But it's like, right, he felt that kindred spirit with, because Kurt was telling him, like, right, just be yourself, and if people don't like you, fuck them, whether it's your dad, whether it's Audrey, just fuck them, because they can't accept you for who you are. Just be you, like a place to be yourself. And he had noticed, like, when he took the phone off airplane mode, his dad was blowing him up. He's like, what's this all about? Kurt wasted no time to come in, because I didn't know whether, like, he had drugged at first I was like, did he drug the drink? But it's like, no, drugging people isn't his thing. I mean, that's actually Dexter's thing, but it's like, no, he wants you lucid, and he wants you running for your life. And so he puts Harrison in that position, and Harrison, and the heartbreaking thing of him being like, no, whatever I did, I'm sorry, I apologize. And I think that speaks volume that he kind of internalizes this, like, the guy's coming at you with a gun and he's threatening to kill you, and you're thinking it's your fault that you did something wrong. But he was like, right, I wish it could work out differently. If Dexter hadn't killed Matt, he probably would have taken Harrison under his wing. If he probably never found out about Dexter being the one that killed Matt, then he probably would have been like, oh, like, you'll be my pseudo son, I'll take you under my wing and everything, because, like, right, we are kindred spirits. He knows, once again, he knows Dexter killed Matt, and I think he probably knows on some level what Dexter's hiding from Harrison, but he doesn't know the extent. He knows that, oh, you killed my son, doesn't know that he's dealing with a fellow serial killer, a renowned one, the Bay Harbor Butcher. But I was like, oh, please get there in time, Dexter. Luckily, he was beeping the horn, and Kurt thought it was Elric. Dexter came through. Luckily, Kurt got out the way, but his gun got run over. But he sure as hell made sure to run. So it's like, right, he's out in the wind. Both Dexter and Harrison got away. But it's like, right, Harrison's got all these questions. Like, what about this? How'd you know what's going on? He's like, right, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you everything. I should have told you from the beginning, like, your dark urges, it's not a bad thing. He's like, right, I was like you. I was born in blood, and I've had those urges ever since I was a teenager. But my dad, Harry, gave me the code and pointed those urges in the right way. So, and in that moment, Harrison hugged him, because he was like, right, that's all it took. Like, he had his worries that if he, he let, the Deb subconscious, like, get the best of him, of like, right, you tell him the truth, you're going to mess him up even more. But the truth is what he needed to know. Because he was explaining to Kurt, he felt it, like Dexter was holding something back. There was a part of things, and because Dexter had all the info, because Harrison kept internalizing, like, right, my dad left because maybe he saw what I was before, back when I was 5, and maybe that's why he left. But now it's like, no, I was scared because I didn't want what I was to screw you up. I never thought what I was would have found its way to you, because he thought Harrison was young enough that it wouldn't stick with him. But I mean, truth be told, it makes sense. You were around the same age when what happened to your mom happened to you, and it shaped you. You were born in blood, so was Harrison. And so now Harrison knows, like, right, we're the same. And even Dexter's like, right, maybe this is exactly what I needed too. Once again, someone he can completely confide in, tell everything to, be open with, because, like, right, they don't have the normal father-son relationship. They both share this dark passenger in themselves, this darkness. And if he can do what Harry taught him, then I can point him in the right direction. But Deb's also inside of his head pointing out, like, right, what Harry did to you was child abuse. Turning you into a monster like that was never a good thing. Like, if you do that, you're going to turn your son into a monster. But at the very least, Dexter can give him some peace of mind by telling him, this is what you are. This is who I am. You're not alone in feeling the way you are. So... But I think it's also, you could make the argument, it's also about Dexter being like, right, now I can connect to Harrison by like us being completely open. This is what I needed after everything. Sadly, this all gets super complicated because, Angela's putting in work because of Molly. I was like, damn you, Molly, bringing suspicion towards Dexter. So she's looking into Dexter. And Logan just casually ended up dropping, yeah, he beat the crap out of a drug dealer. He what? It's like, yeah, he found the drug dealer and I almost stopped it from killing him. And she was like, what? So she goes to talk to Miles, finds out Miles admits like, yeah, like I felt a needle go on my neck. And then the cop showed up and beat the crap, and then he beat the crap out of me. He's like, wait, he waited until the cop showed up? It's like, yeah, it was weird. And you're like, she's taking a picture of the needle mark. I was like, oh, this isn't good. Then we find out about Jasper's OD. It didn't sit right with her, so she's getting the medical examiner to examine. It's like, okay, so what's going on here? And it's like, right, could someone have, like, forced him to take the drugs? It's like, yeah, it's possible, because he does have ketamine in his body. And then she notices the marker, and I was like, yo, even Dexter admitted himself. It's like, right, Angela is really good at her job. He was able to manipulate the evidence just like... Because I think probably in his argument, in his mind, it's like, oh, Miami PD kind of sucks, so, like, I'm able to manipulate them. I'm trying to remember, does he ever really look down upon them? Because I think he does recognize, like, they are all good cops and are good at what they do. He's just better at shifting the situation to be what he needs it to be. And he tried to do it with Angela. Once again, this is him 10 years sober, I guess would be the weird way to say. And so he's lost a step or two. And the problem is you have an entire history, like, associate with you. So you don't get to start fresh, especially because now Angela knows your real name and can tie this all back to you, because she actually looks up Dexter Morgan, Miami Metro, but then she puts in ketamine and it ties her back to, lo and behold, the Bay Harbor Butcher. She's all tight-knit with a podcaster who's covered this, so either Molly's going to give her the deets of, oh, you should listen to this, especially because Molly threw out there, what if Dokes wasn't the Bay Harbor Butcher? What if there was still enough? Now, what's going to be interesting is, the Bay Harbor Butcher's MO is killing serial killers. Now, the question is, how is Angela going to feel about that? Is she going to be like, right, I'm going to use you to get rid of Kurt? Because she's still flip-floppy on it, because she's starting to believe Kurt's lie about his dad being the one. Now, Dexter and Harrison probably aren't going to come, they definitely aren't going to come forward about this, because it's just a whole line of stuff they'd have to admit. He'd even have to admit killing Elric, and it's just going to be like, oh, you killed him in this way? Self-defense, like, what he did to cover his tracks, because he probably, like, got rid of the body, too, so it's like, that's not gonna fly with Angela, so she's already suspicious of you already because of the whole Dexter Morgan thing, so just none of it's gonna work out in his favor, I can just tell. Things are going to be so complicated. Now there's like, yeah, you and Harrison have your open moment, all is good, is great and everything, and now Angela's finding out the truth, and now we're going to be in this awkward situation of, you might have to kill Angela because she's going to find out the truth, but then what does that mean for Harrison and Audrey? Because, oh, I can't necessarily date the girl after my dad murdered her mom. It's like, right, he cares for Angela, but it's about him and Harrison now, so he's got to put taking care of him before, like, you know, but it's like, right, if he kills her, that's going to draw too much attention, unless he does kind of a similar Dokes thing by, like, throwing Dokes under the bus to make him seem like the Bay Harbor Butcher, get everyone off your trail, but also, I think he's going to make Kurt take the fall for all of this. Maybe, potentially, we'll have to wait and see. I don't want Angela to die. For one, I don't want Dexter to kill her, but also where Molly's going to play a role in this, because your boy Kurt was dead, like, he eyed her up. So he's got his eyes set on her. Granted, he lost his gun, but he could always go back and tell him, buy another one, so it's going to be interesting, too, because Angela's probably, I didn't even think about it because that's left open, but the Matt thing, there was a whole, oh, someone was there in the woods with Matt. Angela's probably going to tie that back to Dexter and be like, oh, like, he did this, so I just don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. We've only got 2 episodes left this season. It's going to be wild to see what happens next. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.